Swing me around a bit. All right, we are rehearsing.
Aiden line, take one.
And rocket. Camera set. And action.
The project was originally based on a book called Strangers by a Japanese author called Tachi Yamada. Graham and I were very keen to work with Andrew, so it was simpatico that Andrew really responded to the material as well, and then really made it his own, I have to say, because it's a big departure from the book.
When I read the book, which is actually a very traditional ghost story, what I loved about it was this central concept, or this central conceit about someone, an adult, meeting their parents again when essentially they are the same age as him. So I loved that idea of basically meeting your parents, reparenting again.
Yes, it is you.
Hi.
Hi.
So from that, I kind of expanded the story and turned it into something closer to my life, I guess, and my understanding of the world and my relationships with my parents and my own romantic relationships. And so it was about taking my own experience and kind of bringing it into that story.
I had read the script and I was immediately blown away by it, really. It's incredibly personal to him, but like great writers, he makes you sort of feel like it's personal to everybody.
I think that's true of all of Andrew Haig's films, is that there's a deep sense of care and love that goes into the characters that he constructs.
All right, let's have nice and quiet, please.
Okay, stand by for a take.
When you adapt a book to become a screenplay and then a film, I instinctively always lean into the filmmaker. It's like, let's go where the filmmaker wants to go. I think what's interesting at the heart of this story and in Andrew Haig's interpretation of this story is personalising it to a gay man in his 40s or 50s and the experience they might have had earlier in their life. So I think there's an overlap of what were the 80s, what were the 90s like as a gay man in London? How did your parents respond to that? What emotional journeys did you not complete?
To see Mum and Dad.
I'm trying to write about them at the moment.
How's it going?
Strangely.
When I was writing the script, I was imagining a house, and it just happened to be that the house I was imagining was my own childhood house. And so we went and asked to film in that house. That was a very unusual experience, filming scenes in my old bedroom and my old parents' bedroom. And it was amazing how much I remembered that time. I think your first house becomes embedded into your memory.
The house was like a sort of capsule to the 80s. I think the fact that we shot in Andrew's real childhood home sort of added to that authenticity. That really added sort of the layers and the texture to the story.
I do think it helped the film. I think it helped the actors. I think it was fascinating for them to think that they were within the place that I used to be a kid in.
Our boys back home?
In a film like this, what we're asking our audience to do is to come, almost to go through the looking glass to a different space, to a different era. So you want to identify that it's a different era with the design. At the same time, you want the design to be authentic and real and plausible. And I think the design teams and Andrew Haig did a wonderful job of creating that 80s world.
I mean, it was easy for us all to recapture the 80s. Basically, we've all got photos. So me and Sarah Finney, the production designer, and costume designer, Sarah Blenkinsop, we just looked at old photos from that time and saw how we used to look and what our houses were like and where we used to live.
The set decoration and the production design is really extraordinary. When I went into Adam's childhood bedroom, there were so many things in there that I had in my own childhood bedroom. I was taking pictures of them and sending them to my siblings, going, oh my God, do you remember this? And they just did that really beautifully.
They did an amazing job. It was like being in a 1980s home. There are so many things in it that I was like, we had those sheets, we had that lampshade, I think we had that rug, it was like stepping back in time.
The design team were amazing because it was literally like the records that you used to have, the posters that you used to have on the wall. It felt very retro but very authentic.
The albums were very important to Andrew and the music, so there were very specific albums that he wanted. Obviously things from Andrew's childhood that you should have, certain books as dressing. Just bits and bobs and, a lot also in games that he'd reference.
Is this real?
Does it feel real?
Yeah.
There you go then.
For the hairstyles and the makeup, Andrew Haig didn't want to go overtly 80s. So when I initially did a mood board for him, I did lots of very 80s style, big perms, big hair. And he was like, no, let's not go a typical cliched 80s, let's just rein it back in.
We should definitely do some details.
Andrew has a very set vision of what he wants to achieve. And I think each department worked very clearly to Andrew's brief.
In the 80s, wasn't acceptable back then to have stubble. So with Jamie, we kept him kind of clean and a very neat kind of 80s moustache.
It just put me in that place of like 80s masculinity, which is a little like, well, I don't know. You know, we don't really talk about our feelings, and we're all kind of in a bit of denial, and let's not talk about hard things, and let's just drink and smoke.
The parents both had that kind of 80s look without pushing it into cliche. Like, I want them to look what a normal, regular family would wear in the 80s, not what people on the television wore in the 80s. So it's just finding subtle ways with costume to sort of reflect the time.
The clothes were just such a bad era. Lots of high-waisted jeans. But also I have a really great tracksuit, which I'm very fond of. But I always find it really interesting with period kind of things, the dressing of them and realising you can shorthand so much about a person and who they are and what their aspirations are by what they're wearing. And I think that the mum did that a lot. She had a perm, she had some great earrings. Definitely had kind of aspirations of something more.
Yeah, are you ready? I'm going to press it.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Here we go.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Go.
Good. Very nice.
Memories kind of define us. They define what we become. They define our character. Everybody can relate to that idea of wanting to go back and to redefine what your relationship with your parents was.
The story's incredibly moving. I'm just every day struck by how heartbreaking and beautiful a story it is.